Namaste and hello to everybody on this session of destiny versus self effort. So, before we jump into the topic, let us start with a prayer and please join me. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Welcome back. It's my pleasure to dwell into a topic which is widely discussed, and I got some inquiries into this, so I thought I will share my thoughts about this topic. Many have spoken about it, and many discussions you will find online also regarding destiny versus self effort. And there seem to be a lot of confusion. So, I guess from confusion, we'll bring out our own understanding. So, allow me to add to the confusion, so to say, and hopefully, we find some kind of direction and thought as to what is destiny and what is self effort. So let us jump into the topic, destiny versus self effort. This topic, if I may say, is confusing because many people think that I can do anything what I want, and that is called purushartha or self effort. And another extreme could be that everything is predestined, and we are part of this game as a puppet, and hence whatever is destined happens. And obviously there are sciences like astronomy, astrology, palmistry, which kind of predicts your life, and that substantiate the feeling that yes, life is predestined. If it was not, then how would they predict what is going to happen? And if it is predicted, then what is the role of my effort? And this is the kind of conflict which goes through it, our minds. So to start off, let us look at what is destiny and what is self effort in a manner, and to take it forward. So let me start this journey by dealing into or dwelling into what is destiny. Now, destiny is primarily made up of two elements. One is sanchit karma, and another one is called prarabdha karma. This is karma is in a simple way, it is action. Sanchit is accumulated. The fruits of accumulated action is called sanchit, and prarabdha is what is destined. So in a simple way, prarabdha is the destiny part which we usually understand or explain as my destiny. Now, what is sanchit karma? It's, as it is defined, accumulated karma or the fruit of actions from all the previous journeys that we have gone through in our lives, or the soul has traveled, or the consciousness has traveled and has accumulated. And then out of those accumulation, the portion of that which accumulates and causes is the result of, is the cause of, not result, the cause of this very birth is called prarabdha karma. So basically, the impact is so much that not everything is accumulated into one life, but say the cause of certain elements or certain portion of our fruits have created this life, and this life, that is what is called prarabdha karma. So these are the two, you know, the fruits of our actions, which are the cause of our birth death cycle. And this prarabdha karma in a given lifetime is usually referred to as destiny. So when you go to a palmist or an astrologer, what they read is the prarabdha kind of thing. They try to understand that, okay, what have you come with? So a palmist does not dictate your life. A palmist or an astrologer does not dictate as to what is going to happen. He or she only reads it. They are like a forecaster, that, okay, I forecast, but doesn't mean that the forecasting machine is really making rain. So rain is supposed to happen and the forecaster just announces it. So that is the job of the science of astrology and palmistry and all that. And what they are predicting is the destiny, what we call prarabdha, and which originates from prarabdha karma, which is a portion of sanchit karma. So this is what is usually understood as destiny. So destiny is made up of action. Now, if you look at it from other point of view, yes, both these actions actually define our destiny. So what is the origin of? Now, if I take it step further and say, okay, now I did some action and I am facing the result, but the action which I did in my previous birth probably had is the result of my previous birth and the previous. So where this journey started from, and that is important element to understand how we have grown, how we have evolved over the process of evolution and the journey of soul, as we may like to call it. So the origin actually starts, if you remember my previous sessions, wherein we discussed about the origin of creation, you will see that the origin was basically coming from the three elements, what in scientific terms we know as electron, protons, and neutrons. It is sattva, rajas, and tamas, which originated from the core energy, that was aham tattva, mahat tattva. So from that core came these three elements, and these three elements in their frequencies, you remember, if tanmatras we discussed, and when they fluctuate, in those fluctuations in different combinations, they create different frequencies and manifestations. So we are one such manifestation sparked out of that. And then that manifestation over the period goes through the whole process of evolution. Now that evolution must have taken us from various stages. It must have gone through, you remember, space, air, water, fire, earth, and then amoeba, insects, and sea animals, plants, and then going forward to monkeys and all that, and ultimately human beings. So that is how this whole creation has happened. Now the beautiful thing to understand here is that all these, where my soul or whatever me have has traveled in whole of this creation, in each of these creation, when I was an insect, when I was a plant, when I was an animal, when I was maybe a crow or a bird or whatever, the imprints of those also remain in my subconscious, which is called chitta. So those imprints gets accumulated and create the cause of my prarabdha or sanchit. You may call it sanchit, and then from there prarabdha. So the prarabdha is an accumulation of all my imprints. But you may wonder that if everything is an imprint of that which I had no control over, When I was traveling like an amoeba or traveling like an insect and then plant and animals, I had no control over it. But that is the part of destiny which explains to us that it's a game. And our seers who understood this, they started aligning themselves to realize that all of this is a mirage, a beautiful drama. And that is why they called it Maya. Maya doesn't exist, but it appears. So they enjoyed that this is supposed to be enjoyed, not argued or countered, because there's nothing to counter. It doesn't appear, but it is there for our enjoyment, for the fun of it, because that self wanted to enjoy love, experience love, affection, and for that, this manifestation has happened. But we are trapped because we have this individuality, we have this belief of a self, a body, and because of which now we have to think about how this thing would work so that we also realize and get out of this bondages and start enjoying the life as we are destined to enjoy. But why are we not able to enjoy is because we are trapped in a false sense of ownership, knowing, possessiveness. And those things are because of the imprints which we are carried through all our previous journeys. But the good news is, they say it is only 15% of the genes and impulses that are brought forth from the evolution. So, whatever we have evolved through that, 15% of my imprints, or vasanas as I call them, impulses as I call them, they are from all of my life's journey. If I was a crow, maybe my head will keep shaking every time. If I was a monkey for a long time, I may have a habit of restlessness. So I could have many imprints in me to remind me, to showcase that yes, I have an imprint from past, which I cannot control, which was beyond me, beyond my imagination also. But then everybody has to reach this human birth. And when you reach, then you realize that all of that accumulated is 15%, but 85% of the imprints are clean. But what happens, destiny, unfortunately, is that that 15% starts dominating my 85%. And that is the key to understand. And this 85%, which is not dominated by them, is the portion of our karma. And that is what we have to understand it very clearly. Now, a general research has shown us, our scientific researches, if I may call it, a spiritual scientific research, they say 1 million impressions per day we are able to receive. Even if my life is 100 years, even if it is 1,000 years, with all the imprints or whatever, I'm allowed or I'm supposed to have, I can have over 70 trillion impressions. Now imagine if my impressions, or as they call vasanas or impulses, are positive, are sattvic, or are good, then I will be able to not only clean that 15%, but also influence my 85% and give boost to my realization. So this is the game. So the portion of 85% is what we refer to as self-effort or purushartha. So 15% is dominated, which we can't control. Now with our purushartha, we are supposed to influence the 15, and the moment we clean up 15, we have done the purpose of our life. Now this 1 million impression, it sounds big, but when you compare it with 70 trillion impression that we are supposed to have, and the capacity of ours is that, then it comes to roughly around 3%. So 85% of 3%, around 3 to 4%, is what we are actually utilizing in terms of 60,000 thoughts created every day. Now, how many thoughts are positive? That's an individual judgment. We all can look at it and analyze ourselves. How many thoughts do I have? And out of the thoughts which I entertained today, how many were really positive? How many were totally not negative? How many were neutral? And if you analyze it, then you see that each thought multiplies immediately and gives you double effect. So if you have entertained good thought, a loving thought, a caring thought, it multiplies and it becomes double. So imagine a 60,000 good thoughts would mean 120,000 positive imprints. So right now, what the research tells us is around 40,000 are negative imprints in an average human being today. So you can see the mess around us. So we have 40,000 out of 60 negative imprints, which multiply and obviously create further chaos. So we not only are not utilizing our 85, we are actually enhancing the 15 to disturb more of 85 also. So that is how the whole equation of prarabdha works. So the more and more I start acting on them, I increase my karma, and that increases my destiny. So what I'm supposed to get is my destiny, and which is out of my actions. So now if you understand the origin where it is coming from, that would give us a perspective to understand as to what is in our control and what is not in our control. So if somebody entertains and says to us that, hey, I will only follow what we call, say for example, I will only follow destiny, or I will only follow self effort. See, these two extremes, if you take, then there is something to logically analyze. A person who says, I believe only in Purushartha, I believe only in self effort. See, I'll give you today's example. Suppose I was a purely a Purushartha person who says that no, everything is self effort, and I line up my business, I line up everything, finances, everything, and I'm set, ready to go, and Corona happened. Then what do I say? Now, where is my self effort? Can I change Corona? I couldn't. Everybody is locked up for a year in the house. So that itself shows that as much as we want to be, having control of our life, as much as we love to say that I control my destiny, I can make my destiny, I must understand and realize that there is something superior, something super, something higher up, which even controls my end result. So this is the catch. Now, people, other extreme, those who think everything is destiny, then it becomes too boring. Then they will have lethargy. They will have kind of an, total inertia to say that, okay, what can I do? Imagine if a student starts saying that if I'm destined to pass, I will pass. So why should I study? Imagine if a worker says that, okay, if it is destined to happen, it will happen. Why should I bother? In that, you will start seeing negative effect, and you will realize that no, I can't leave it at destiny, I must do my bit. So which means again self effort plays. So in the both extreme cases, if you take the example, then you realize neither we are fully independent to be self effort, nor we are totally independent to remain depending on the destiny. And there is a mid path. And what is that mid path? And that is what we have to find, in which we put in self effort and we leave certain thing to destiny. And in other side, we believe in destiny and do our best. Now, this is the game which we need to understand in our journey. Okay, so that is what we have to see. Now, here I wanted to introduce a concept of Kala Chakra because it will help us to understand because when we look at time, for that matter, we have, our concept of understanding of time is basically linear. We say yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We always believe that something which has gone by, and now we move forward. So our whole thinking process is very linear in life. Unfortunately, we apply this into every aspect of our life, even in our spiritual growth. Whereas our ancient science, let me call it Vedic knowledge, just to differentiate, not an Eastern or Western thought. And today, especially, that barrier is broken. So let me address it as a Vedic knowledge. From the Vedic perspective, the time was never linear, it was cyclic. It is always looked at cyclic journey. That's why if you see that eras also are in cyclic, the time also is in cyclic. That's why it was called Kal Chakra. Chakra means wheel, cyclic wheel, the shape of wheel. And Kala is supposed to be time. It is supposed to be the beginning. It is supposed to be the infinity. That's referred to as Kal. So when you say time chakra, the cycle of cyclic time, the concept was that everybody is running. It is a cyclic effect. And now if you look at it, this is like a cycle, and then we all are running around it. We all are moving in a cyclic format. Now, this is a very important aspect to understand, that when I am, revolving around. Now, imagine yourself to be standing anywhere on the circle. So, for example, suppose I am running at the end of this wheel, and I see somebody in front of me also running. The linear thought process will tell me that he's ahead of me and I'm behind. And the person running behind me is behind me, because my thought is linear. But when I look at it in a cyclic manner, then that doesn't hold right. Why? Because the person in front could be behind me. And maybe I would have taken a round full and I have arrived here while he's still running the first lap. I'm on my second lap or on my third lap. So it could be that I am the first and he's the last. Correct? So in the cyclic, it is not known who is where in the race of life. So that is why in the spiritual context, people never judge anybody as to who is where in the spiritual realm, because everybody is in a cyclic run and nobody can make out who is where. The only catch here is that how, when while running, who is now, if I'm running in a cycle, the reason for me running into cycle is the center point. Without the center, I will not know that I'm running in a cyclic way. But our scientists have known, that's why they called it Kal Chakra, that we are in cyclic. The whole creation is in cyclic run. And that is because there is somebody in the center holding the reins, and because of whom we all are running in a cycle. Now, how do I reduce this cyclic run? Is by coming closer to the circle. So that if I come closer and closer to center, my movements become less and less. And once the center and I become one, there is no need of movement. And that is a beautiful message of Kal Chakra. So now imagine, so with that logic, you may think that a person, say, if I start counting the circles from the center, and say A is in the third cycle and B is on the 10th cycle. So it is very logical to say A is closer to the center than B. Why? Again, the problem is this thought is true if we are thinking linear. But when you think cyclic, then that also falls flat. Because now who will judge where is the center? Now I presume, because for me that was a center, so I am presuming that for the B also should be the same center, whereas the B may not have the same center. So everybody's center is unique to each one, and that makes this life beautiful. So now it is very difficult to judge who is where in the spiritual journey. That's why Ramana Maharshi said, surrender and shut up. Because there is nobody who can know what is happening. Even Ramana was a child, playful child, just before he came back from his game and he lied down on the floor and he experienced bodilessness. And the moment he experienced that, he was a realized Maharishi. So, till that moment, nobody could even guess that Ramana could be a Maharishi. And the very next moment, he was. So, nobody can really make out that where is our focal point and where is that is what the illusion of this whole creation is. And that is the whole play. And because it is so mystical, we call it Maya. And this is the run of this. That's why I thought I'll introduce this concept, because when we talk about self effort, we have to know that our effort is not in correlation with anybody else. Our destiny is not in correlation with anybody else. My effort, my best effort, when I say, it doesn't mean that I am better than others. Better than others does not mean that I have done my best. My best may be better than others or may not be, because that better is also an illusion of relative comparisons. So I should not get trapped into comparisons, into understanding that, you know, my existence is in relation with others. Yes, my existence is, but my efforts are unique to me, because my efforts, as I said to you, is totally controlled differently. My birth was not controlled. The evolution of three gunas were not in my control. And that is the journey which I need to understand how it is growing. And that is why I thought this Kala Chakra concept would be a nice flavor to understand where we are and how we are, and how, what, with what attitude we must continue to work with that. So now we have seen the origin of it. Now we have seen. Now here comes a different element which I wanted to share. See, all this confusion between self effort and, if you call it, destiny, is only in humans. If you look at the whole creation, before the human beings came into existence, you will realize that there was no conflict. For animal, up to the animal kingdom, there is no conflict between destiny and self effort. For example, a tiger feels hungry, he gets up, goes for hunt, gets his food, has his meal, and then he rests. And as long as he's not again hungry, he won't go for hunt. And if it could mean to rest for 2 days, he would do that. And I've seen that in Africa. I went for a safari, and I was so beautifully amazed to see the animals in such a harmony. Sometimes you wonder really how much we can learn from animals too. See, unlike human beings, we eat, then we want to provide for evening, then tomorrow, and then for our children, and then provide for our grandchildren and all that, which I wouldn't say it right or wrong, but that is being human. But animals don't do that. Hence, for them, what is destined, their effort is in par with that. So their destiny and effort is synced. So there is no conflict for them, and that's why they don't have this kind of dilemmas as to should I leave or should I act. They act when they are supposed to. It is like a body. Your body will respond. If you're hungry, it will tell you go and drink water, you drink water. So what is the question of self effort and destiny there? So basically, once we get aligned with that, then there's a mergence of destiny and self effort. So if you really look at the life journey of evolution, I find that only in human beings this problem starts. Before humans, this dilemma is not there. And why does this dilemma happens to human beings? Is because of what we call buddhi, or intellect. This buddhi actually is the hallmark of a human being. Only humans have what we call as intellect. And all of you know the attribute of an intellect is to tell us what is right, what is not right, what is good and what is not good for us. And hence, every step of life, we keep making choices. The choice, the choosing, ability to choose and ability to decide what is good for me and what is not, is the attribute of intellect or buddhi. And that is the hallmark of a human being. Without this, the form may be there, but we can't be labeled as human being. So this is a beautiful element to understand. And this buddhi is responsible for effort. So if I say I'm doing action or purushartha, so that is self-effort based on buddhi. And buddhi is culmination of my past life accumulation of fruits of action. So my efforts have given me buddhi, which is coming from my past life. Hence, buddhi relates to destiny. So destiny has given me that intellect, and through that intellect, I conduct my today's effort. So what I have been bestowed upon is my destiny. How I live this destiny is my self-effort in a simple way. So if I say that I'm intelligent, it's got nothing to do with my present day effort. If I'm intelligent now, it's because of my past fruits of my action. If I say I am unfortunate, I am struggling, I have bad, things around me, that has nothing to do, probably nothing to do with your present scenario. It is basically what we have accumulated from our past. But how are we going to handle it now is our purushartha or self-effort. And that would create our future destiny. Hence, this destiny and self-effort becomes a cyclic effect. So let us look at a little bit of definition of these two. So one is, uh, let me change the screen a little bit to make it look better. Yeah. So if I have to summarize it for us, that self-effort actually motivates us. It bestows upon us the aspiration to grow, the growth, motivation, you know, so that is good, because when I work, I say, yes, I can. So it improves my self-confidence. And it has a negative. The challenge with self-effort is it also promotes ego, attachment, possessiveness, which becomes hindrance in the long run for us. Similarly, if you look at destiny, it bestows humility, because I know that nothing is in my hand. And that creates detachment also. It promotes acceptance. I have faith. But at the same time, it also encourages lethargy, it demotivates, and dependence on more on destiny will make you I'm just living purposeless life. So both extremes we have to be watchful about as to how we move around. And the truth is that both of them are actually the two sides of the same coin. And that is the key to really understand and capture in our lives. Okay. And this also explains to us, this takes us to the final thing to understand, that self-effort and destiny are the effects of actions. So my efforts creates destiny and my destiny creates my self-effort. And this chain continues. So a natural question comes that what is the escape from here? And what do I learn from it and how do I conduct? And that is where our Vedic science, as I would call it, as I love to call it now, that Vedic science gives us the solution for it and a beautiful explanation and understanding of how to take this understanding into our life. They said this cycle of action, destiny, destiny, action will keep happening, and you are trapped, because every action will give you imprints, either good imprints or bad imprints. And those good or bad imprints will give you the reaction, reflection, resound, and that would create your destiny. And that destiny will again push the action. So this chain is going to continue, and it will continue till you know how to get out of it. Now, the getting out of it is only one way, when the destiny and self effort merges. And how do I do that? I'm not saying we have to become animals to become that, but we have to understand the difference between animal and us as buddhi. And that is why there's a very beautiful Vedic prayer which everybody is taught, Gayatri. In that there's a line, भूर्भुवस्सुः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. Bhargo devasya dhimahi dhiyo yo nah prachodayat. That, O Lord, enlighten my mind, that buddhi, enlighten my buddhi, awaken it, so that it understands and it merges with the supreme consciousness. So enlighten and dhiyo yo nah prachodayat. Let it become enlightened and merge with that supreme consciousness. And that buddhi emergence is the awareness that destiny and self effort merges. And how does this happen? Now, there are three ways. I have put it in the three stages of learning. And to understand this, stage one, in which you acknowledge your potential, you believe what is my strength, what are my weaknesses, and act with the best potential. And I said best when I say, I have already highlighted that we should not compare ourselves with others and say, my best is because I'm better than that person. Your better need not be your best. That is two different things. So, point here is, acknowledge your potential, know your strengths and weaknesses, and act with best of our own potential. And then dedicate the efforts and the result to the supreme. This is the destiny part that I said, even in self effort, there are something which is not in my hand. Like this corona was not in my hand. I could plan everything under the sun, but I don't know how tomorrow will turn. Maybe I will stop breathing. So even after doing all of that, what is the guarantee that, the money I have hoarded, the properties I have made, I may not be even there to enjoy them. So the result is certainly not in my hand. There is some element which is glaringly telling me that I am not in control. So the best way to act is, give your best, know your potential, enjoy the life, but dedicate the results to the supreme and say, okay, I have done my best. Now, result, whatever comes, I accept. So that is the first stage. In second stage, when we move up, it is that we take the right action, whatever is, with full potential, but with humility and gratitude, and without getting impacted with the outcome or results. So there we are offering our output to the finale. They're saying, okay, I don't mind whatever comes. Here we are not kind of bothered or attached to it, but now it's my habit to give my best. I am helping you, or I am doing my best, not because of the result, but because it's my nature to be like that. So if I smile and I am helpful to people, it is not because I expect others to smile back at me. If I say hello to you, it doesn't mean that I'm expecting. In the first, I may expect, but I say, even if I don't get, let me say. In the second, I say it because it has become my nature to say. I do because it's my nature to do, help others, to enjoy, to be happy. It's my nature, without influenced by the prospective outcome or result. That is stage three, second stage. And in the third stage, when I come, there is no distinction between my effort and my experience. In Chinese, there's a very beautiful proverb which goes, you cut wood before enlightenment, and you cut wood after enlightenment, which means the style of living does not change even after you get enlightenment. So you had already started living at the best of your stage. And when you realize it, you continue living at the best of your ability, because now the difference between the two lives is drastically different. But the difference is, in one, you are living with a faith, in another, you're living with awareness, the full consciousness that now I am life. So that is a difference, and that destiny is emergence. In Vedic terminology, in a Vedantic terminology to be precise, this first stage is called Karma Yoga. That's exactly what Karma Yoga connotes, as per my understanding. The second stage can be named as Nishkam Karma, wherein you don't have the desire for the fruit of action, but now the action has become your nature. And third is Ekatma Bhav, that is self-actualization. So these are the three stages of fulfillment. And let me highlight, I am just reminded of one research actually. Uh, there's a research, you can even Google it if you have to the internet. A very beautiful research which tells you, it's an interesting research. Some Western, I don't know whether it's European or American professors, they have done, they found that that anytime we, normal actions of the body is, you get a thought, the thought triggers a command, and then it goes to the limbs, and the limbs start acting. So for example, if I have to lift my hand, my mind would tell the brain that lift right hand, and the brain will send the impulses and my hand will come up. And this of course happens in a fraction of a second. So that's how, I'm just giving a very crude way, how the process works. So what they did research, they found that before even I could think of giving a command, the command had already triggered from the brain for the hand to move. It was almost a 500 second before even the thought arose in the mind, that command had already been sent. And that intrigued them, that even my thought, is it predestined? That who knew before I could think that I am going to think that, and hence the command will be such and such, and it will go through. So from the scientific perspective, it's worth exploring and learning. I enjoy that. They have also explored that there is something which is controlling even our thoughts. So what am I going to think is predestined in a way. So that is why the trigger of command had already started even before the thought was acknowledged in the brain. So it's a very beautiful thought. And if you catch this, you will really enjoy the process of destiny, how destiny works, because that is prarabdha. Because I was supposed to lift my hand, so the prarabdha permutation combination has already calculated, and that was the cause of the thought to come into you. But from the physical perspective, when we capture that I thought, I acted, but actually it was again controlled by the prarabdha. So it's a very beautiful thing which I found, that I thought I'll share with you. So if you have interest, you can always search and look at it further. And that is what takes us to the next stage, which I call it, like, what is the goal of all of that, is basically, let me change the slide here, yeah, is basically when destiny and self-effort merges and you find the human fulfillment. So this is how I would look at the whole journey of self-effort and destiny. So yes, as long as we have the intellect and we have this body consciousness, we have 85% to do with self-effort, but we have 15% solid as sealed destiny. And our nature, our duty is that with the effort of self-effort, with that self-effort, 85% enhancement, utilization, and cleaning of 15%. So from present 3% to 4% of utilization of out of 85%. And that is what gives us this kind of lifestyle. If you are able to think in spiritual terms, if you are able to do something good in life, that is because we have tapped 3 to 4% of 85%. Imagine if we increase it further, what we call our spiritual sadhanas by prayers and whatever, charities and service and all that. Right now, we are utilizing only 3 to 4% of that 85%. Imagine if we can increase the imprints of a million into positive imprints. If we can increase that 60,000 thoughts per day to positive thoughts, right now 40,000 is negative for an average human being. If we can make it positive, imagine the destiny change which can happen in a humongous manner. So that is how the whole gamut comes into play. So I leave the floor open. We have a few minutes, 10, 15 minutes here. So if any questions, you are welcome to ask. And I hope I have not totally confused everybody, but I have tried to share it as far as I could and with whatever understanding I had gathered. And I hope it helps. So I leave the floor open for anybody to share their thoughts, any questions or comments. You are welcome. And I can take it as just back in the meantime. So if you want to see any particular slide or talk about it, you are welcome to do that. So let me know if you have any questions or any thoughts for now. I understand this is all little, you have to digest these things. So I'm not, does someone's destiny affect us? Yes, if I may, Angita Vora, Auntie is asking, does someone's destiny affect us? Yes, in a way, because if that person is next to us, so obviously that person is next to us because of our destiny. So the first thing which we should always keep in mind, and I always tell that, tie a thread around your finger, which should remind us that whatever happens to us, whatever happens, the first reaction to ourselves should be that it is happening because of me and not because of anybody else. Because we are the creator of our own destinies. So if somebody has come to me, maybe not only my as a relation, it could be my neighbor, he could be my colleague, it could be anybody. If anybody comes to me in my purview, it is because of my combination. It is because of me. So first and foremost, we must develop that acceptance that whatever happens to me is because of me. Then we look at how to handle that and how to approach it. So yes, so if anybody else is around you, obviously their destiny is in conflict with your destiny. That's why you are together. So for this, for example, even to do this, our destinies are somewhat, there is a kind of overlap. That's why we are together doing this workshop, doing this session, because we are connected somehow. Vibha is asking, is God the center holding us in the circle of Kala Chakra? That is true. That is an pictorial indicator. Yes, whether you want to call it God or supreme consciousness, whatever, that is the focal point. And the idea of the chakra is to realize that we are like surrounding that center energy, and our goal is that center, and this whole drama is revolving around him. So he's the focal point. True. Welcome. This Kala Chakra I wanted to share for that reason, because most of our discussions when I've seen, because of our training, we have a linear thinking process. We always Somehow we say that, today it happened, tomorrow and day after. We cannot think in terms of cyclic effect. And that's why we don't realize that how it bounces back on us. So law of effect, karma, all of that is because of cyclic effect. If it was not cyclic, then past is done. But how do I understand that it is done? No doubt, I can't go back. But the effect of that is still going on. And ultimately, it'll come back to me. So you can never escape the law of karma. And that is the cyclic effect. So that also, plus, it keeps us very humble to realize that, you know, that we are nobody to judge anybody's progress. We cannot say who is ahead of me, who's behind me. All that thoughts become meaningless. Great. I have a few more minutes. I have got 5-10 minutes more. So if any other thought, you can even suggest me any other topic you would like me to continue next time. So I would be happy to. So as because this is a very interesting thought, karma versus self-effort. It requires a little bit of thought to go with that. See, here I was talking to you about acceptance. Okay, does self-effort equal ego? No. Ego, if you look at ego from a very individual perspective, then self-effort can lead to ego, can give you ego. If you look at ego from a very supreme self, that aham tattva, then ego, that I-ness, is the cause of self-effort. How can I identify if my actions are coming from self-effort or from denial, non-acceptance of destiny? Shada, very good question. Because many times we think, we are putting in our effort, but it's a self-effort. Actually, we are just trying to counter our destiny, and it's a very tricky scenario. Why I say tricky is because if you accept what is apparently in front of you and you do not fight it or act it, then it may look as if you don't have the purushartha, you don't have the will to work, and which is again wrong. So your conflict comes, I like that question, your conflict comes because you are wondering whether your action is a real self-effort, or is it an fighting the destiny kind of thing, acceptance or non denying that destiny. No, I'm going to fight it out. I would say the only indicator there would be a self-effort would not create or should not create conflict within you. Self-effort should not bring more hurdles in front of you. That is why it's very important to first analyze what is your ability. But if you work with your ability properly, then you will realize that if you get hurdles, your abilities are only going higher to face it. But the moment your abilities reach a peak of yours, what you feel is my peak. Now, after that, I say, oh God, now I can't. And you have reached the peak, you will see that the hurdle will disappear or it will remain. If it remains, that means your destiny is that you have done your best, now relax. And otherwise, you will naturally find that the hurdles will disappear. So the conflict comes when you attach yourself to the result, perceived result of the outcome. So when you take hurdle, crossing the hurdle as your goal, then you are trapped with this conflict of effort versus destiny. But if your effort is only to give your best, now whether the hurdle goes or not, that is again destiny. That is again the result, output, which may or may not be applicable to you. But somehow we conceive and we start making up our mind that no, only when I break my hurdles, then only I have done my justified my role. That is the trap which we fall into. Because judging the destination is the key. Do not do that. Do not hold goal or the outcome of the action as your measurement, whether you are in self effort or not. Your self effort has got should not be related to the outcome of the result. It should have you must have the satisfaction that I did my best, period. Not, that's why I said, not in comparison with somebody that I did better than him or her. No, that is not the criteria. The criteria is, did I do my best, and can I sleep at night after I finish my work? Can I just sleep and say, yeah, I've done my best and done, that's it. So if I have done that, then whether the destiny happens or not, whether the result happens, that is not a conflict. The conflict will arise when we hold on and start defining the outcome of our effort. And that is why you get this kind of a question. So your only measurement is that if you are getting influenced, then know that you have defined it wrong. You're holding on to wrong measurement. Just come back to your satisfaction and say, I did my best, and sleep. Can self-effort be the destiny? See, it is, that is why the final culmination point is, Rashmi, that self-effort and destiny will merge at the end. What you are doing is your destiny, and whatever is your destiny, you will do. When you develop that kind of understanding, the faith, that surrender to God, to that supreme consciousness, then you realize that whatever happens through you is your destiny. And whatever is your destiny, you will face. So you will have never conflict. You'll never fight that out, because the desire to fight will disappear. There will be no complaints that why don't I have this, why don't, that thought will not be there, because there is no fight. So your destiny and your effort will merge. So can self-effort be destiny? Rephrase it. Then destiny and self-effort will merge. Hope, Rashmi, that helps. Usha, Sairam, what kind of karma do we create when we skip a spider or ants by spraying insecticide? I like that. It is something like, a fly sits on you, and if you kill it, then is it, karma? Are you? Yes, in a way. But there is a stage of it. Like first I said, there are 3 stages. Similarly, if you killing it because you have that fear in your head that if the insect bites me, I may get a disease or I may fall sick, then you are killing it for self-defense, and hence you are doing your karma. So it is okay. But since you are doing your karma, you have to face the karmic consequences. So killing the spider or killing the insect, because it has given you the fear of inflicting you, and you are doing it only to safeguard yourself, hence it falls under the karmic reaction, and that is fine. But if you chase a spider or an ant or an insect to kill it, now the poor fellow is going somewhere and you chase with a stick and you kill it, because now you're imagining that it may fly into your house and then bite you, and then you get sick and you die. Now there you are not acting as a karma, but you are inflicting your karmic problem. So there, that is a different. So there you are not acting as per your karma. There now you are doing, really, that is wrong in a way. From the Vedantic perspective, that becomes wrong. Now the second stage higher than that goes when you start believing that the poor insect is, that and me is same. So if he is drinking, now that oneness, when it comes to you, then the thought of killing won't be there. Then you will let that insect drink, and you will bear even if you fall sick, because then the reaction of falling sick is not arising. So that is the stage, and that we are fortunate to see in our spiritual gurus, that kind of an attitude, that when the insect will be on their hand, they won't even kill it. because they say that is their destiny. They must drink. No, where will they go? See, that is a different level of awareness and conscious living, wherein they don't have the differentiation between that fly and themselves. So there, the destiny is very different. So they don't fall in the category of a human understanding of destiny. Ashna says, how does unintentional action created destiny be mitigated? Yes. Thanks, Ashna. If you remember the slide I showed you about 15%, which is accumulated through our whole past journey, and that is actually unintentional, if I may put it like that, because something like that, and plus, when we are walking, there are insects below us which gets hurt. So if you look at it like that, then there are many things which happen to us, and that is what is explained as a 15% gamut, that 15% is not in our control, which happens. So the only way to mitigate that 15% is by increasing your 85% and increasing your good thoughts. That 60,000 thoughts in a day, 1 million impressions per day, if you kept making them positive. That's why in the cycle of trigunas, when we discussed, we told that, the more we work on our sattva, tamas and rajas will go down. So mitigation is just to enhance the other side. If you feel that I have to counter it, then we keep adding to the goodness. We invite good thoughts, we nurture good feelings, and all that will add up to mitigate that unintentional part also, and keep adding to the kitty of goodness, and that ultimately will become your strength. Ashna, I hope it clarifies. Is do your best and leave the rest an ideal thinking pattern one must follow? Vibaji, that is how our Vedic thought expects us and indicates us to live our lives. That is actually the first lesson of Bhagavad Gita. That is how we are expected, that we have to live and conduct in the best possible manner of our ability, not in comparison with anybody, and leave the result, leave the output, because output, the way we measure output also is problem, because our measurement style is unfortunately too clouded with human physicality of life. So we won't even many times know what is really good for me. First, our vision is very narrow, our memory is very narrow. We can't even see what is coming next minute to our life. So if I say that this is good for me, and the next moment the whole thing changes, and whatever I've accumulated in life becomes meaningless. So we are such narrow people, small people, that we can't even identify what is good for me. So for me to make a judgment about what will be good for me in the future is too far. So that is why I find the Vedic dictum of karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. See, it's a phenomenal verdict, a dictum given by Lord, that do your act as best as you can, and don't worry about the result, because we don't know how to interpret results, and we will always mess up. That's why masters would always tell us, they have a very beautiful thing. He said, never ask God anything. If you go to a realized soul anytime in life, don't ever ask them, because when they give, they will give you beyond your comprehension. When the destiny opens, when the master opens, the shower is beyond our comprehension. And when we ask, we are actually limiting him. He came to give us the ocean, and we ended up asking him for a rainwater harvesting. Yeah, asking for a small pond. So that is why they say it's the best way, Vibha, is that karmanyevadhikaraste. That's it. Do your best and leave the rest. That is a Vedic dictum. And I would certainly, personally, I would vouch for that too. Yes, it is the way to go with. So I think our time is up, but if there is any final thought or questions, I would be happy to take. But thank you for your participation, and I really enjoy the discussions. This was, I hope everybody enjoyed. And if there is any thought, any questions, any suggestions, please feel free to write. Leave your comments on the YouTube comments, or you can email me. I'll be more than happy to revert back. And I look forward to your suggestions and thoughts for the next topic. This topic also came from one of you, and I'm grateful for suggestions because that's how we learn from each other, and we grow together. Ashna, final word before I close. With what perspective do you deal? Sorry, somebody buzzed in the middle. With what perspective do you deal with conflictive people at work and avoid wrong karma? Ashna, just to make it short for you, the conflicting person again is because of me. If I find somebody is conflicting with me in my work environment, it is because I deserve that person. That person has come in my life to teach me something. And the moment I stop looking at his problem and I look at me as the problem and start resolving. So, the best for you, I would suggest, what I have done in my life is, if somebody problematic in front of me, I look at what I can do to make life easy. And from my perspective, I find self improvement is the key to growth. You cannot change the other person, and that is not our jurisdiction, also. So, a conflicting person is a conflicting person for you, not for everybody. And he is conflicting to you because there is something in you which is triggering that. So, if as long as you feel you can fix that part which is needed, do it. If you can't think, no hard feelings. Continue doing your best. Focus on your growth and development. As they say in Vedic terminology, become selfish with capital S. In spirituality, first and foremost is self. So always look at that, and then I'm sure you will be happy. And then the Lord will take care of rest. So not to worry. So don't look at the conflict of others, look at improvement in ourselves. That's it. So thank you so much. I think I just want to respect the timings, nothing else. I'll be more than happy to entertain. If there are more thoughts and questions, I will be happy to even hold a session separately. So I look forward to your suggestions and thoughts. So more and more people communicate. That would give me an idea as to how should I plan the next sessions. So thank you once again, Sairam, and thank you all.